4. All right, we have a lot of new faces. So let's do a round of introductions. And I'd say I put the new people first, but I'm outnumbered. So I'll start. And then I'll throw it that way and we'll come back around and we won't forget you all.
Yeah.
My name is Jen Angel and I am the Downtown Chaska Special Services District Administrator, which means I just take the notes pretty much. And do a little bit of social. So I'll throw it to Michaela.
Okay, I'm Michaela Hatfield, City Council member and Council Liaison to the Downtown Business Alliance.
I am Mel Carlson with Nicolay Bank, and I'm also on the Downtown Alliance Board.
I'm Tanya Van Orden. I have Tanya Swan on second.
Larry Atkinson, the accountant on second, next to Tanya.
I'm Nicole Krause with Bolton and Mink. I'm helping with Downtown Highway 41 project communication work. So, you want to introduce?
Okay, I'm Kevin Wright. I'm the community engagement manager for the city of Chaska. Great Weber on the Bolton and Mink.
Alan Niebling, events and marketing coordinator for the Southwest Metro Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Julie Grove. I'm the new city's economic development coordinator. This is day 3 for me.
Ooh, jumping right in.
Ryan, nice to meet you.
Yes, we're very excited to have Julie, so we're glad she was able to make it. I'm Elise Durbin. I'm the assistant city administrator.
Bob Moyer, Bolton and Mink. I'm the 41 project construction manager on behalf of the city.
I'm Aaron. Southwest Transit. I'm glad I'm not the newest person. I've been there 2 months, so no, not 3 days. So.
And you two are up for intros. Perfect timing.
Steve from Fitness First, Vice President.
Tian Fudre, I'm interning with Steve.
And then on Zoom, we have Krista Fleming, who is our secretary for the Downtown Business Alliance.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Oh, and Jody is joining as well, who is, I'm going to mess up her new title, but she's the head of the Carver County Libraries, the director, I believe. All right, so we have an agenda item that I did not add, and that was Eric. We wanted to give you the floor, being the not newest person here, and Kevin can hook you up with a mic and everything.
I don't know that I necessarily need a mic, but unless everybody can't hear me. I wasn't even sure how much time I had. I thought it was just kind of a, short introduction thing. Your city of Chaska is well represented on our commission. Michaela is one of our commission members, as well as Mike Kwong, and then Bob Repke, who many of you know is also the citizen representative. So 3 of our 7 representatives on the Southwest Commission are from Chaska. And as I said, I'm Eric Hansen. I'm the new CEO of Southwest Transit. Thank you for the opportunity to just kind of introduce myself. We, of course, provide transit service to and from Chaska, downtown, all over the place. I'm going to pass my card this direction so that anybody can see that. And I just, the only thing I kind of wanted to do, I kind of have a sheet that I give people because it gives you an idea of kind of the direction that we're going. Because we really have 2 services. One is the express service, bus service downtown. It leaves here from Chaska and other downtown to the U and places like that. And of course, with COVID in 2020, the ridership, plummeted. And that's true for transit systems all around the country. That's not just true for us as well. But what's interesting about what we have done in terms of adapting to that is that our on-demand service, which is called Prime. Has anybody heard of Prime? Some of you have heard. And I'm going to borrow something from what Michaela said in my very first meeting, when she started talking about how people are priming around town. I don't know if you remember saying that or not.
I don't, but I'm sure I did.
It sounds like you though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I like to think of it that way because it's basically a point to point. If you're in Chanhassen, Chaska, Eden Prairie, and some other parts on the periphery of that, you can call, and for $5, we will take you from this place here to your next place that you need to go, whether it's need to go to get to work, or whether you need to go to get to the grocery store, or whatever it happens to be. And not just for people who might need a ride because they can't drive or don't drive. It's also for people that just like the convenience of it. And so I'm just going to pass this out. I don't have a ton of copies. You might have to share. I didn't know exactly how many people would have at this particular meeting. But two things I want to point out that is rather interesting, and it gives you an idea of kind of where the organization is going. But since 2019, our express bus service downtown is down about 75%. Now we're up a lot year over year, but it's going to take a while for that to come back. But our prime ridership is up 36% since 2019. So it's one of those things where we've got to talk about, where is the organization going? And I think that changes things a lot. And I think that's good for businesses downtown too. For those of you who are downtown business owners, I've spent some time down here, and yesterday I went out with one of our people, and we were kind of going door to door. Actually, we were in Chanhassen at the time, talking to businesses. And it was really interesting because we met with some employees who said, well, geez, even one, for example, who lived in Chaska, but didn't have a car and was trying to figure out how to get to their job in Chanhassen. And then another one, this happened to be a liquor store. And this guy was saying, well, I have this employee who lives in Minneapolis, doesn't own a car. Sometimes I have to go pick him up and bring him to work. I mean, I don't know if this kind of stuff sounds familiar as small business owners, but this is the kind of service that makes sense for a lot of people and maybe people don't know about. And so this is the kind of thing that we do. And particularly in a time where downtown Chaska is all torn up, maybe, is that the right idea? I was trying to say it in a polite way. But when parking is limited and things like this, a service like this might make sense. So I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about that. And we certainly, if you'd like us, or me or one of our people to come talk to your folks, about the services, we can do that. Just a little bit about me is that I was a city administrator before this in Tracy, Minnesota. Before that, I spent a lot of years working in local government in the Denver suburbs. And so although I'm relatively new to Minnesota, grew up in the Midwest in Iowa originally, and went to Colorado and then came back here. So I'm pretty excited to be part of this. I don't have specifically a background in transit, but spent a lot of years in local government, really, which is kind of where my bread and butter is, I guess you could say. So I understand something about, how that works. Thanks for your time. And I didn't want to take up more than that because I knew that you had a whole pretty aggressive agenda. Does anybody have any questions for me about that?
Mention the airport prime too.
Thank you for that. The airport prime, yes. So this is a great service. It costs a little bit more, $10, but that's still a heck of a deal. You can take our service from, actually, if you live in one of the service areas, Chaska included, directly from your house, all the way to the airport for $10. So we'll come pick you up, go to the airport. You could take it for one of our parking rides, of course. I think that's a fantastic service. Should go to our website, swtransit.org, and that'll give you a sense for what our hours, because we don't operate 24/7. It's not like an Uber. So you kind of have to plan ahead a little bit. But I should mention on Prime, which is true also for the airport service, and that's part of our Prime service. There's an app that you can download. It works a lot like the Uber or Lyft app if you've ever used it. You just put your address in, your current location, can find you, of course, with the geolocation, and then go right to that spot. And the airport service is great, absolutely.
Concert venues too.
Concert venues we go to. We'll be going to Pink. Is that tonight or is that tomorrow?
That's last night.
I missed. It was last night. Sorry, I knew it was this week. But yeah. Taylor Swift was crazy. We had to stop selling pre-sale tickets for the bus because we ran out of room. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I'm too old. This might more my daughter's speed. Any other questions or comments?
I would say from our perspective, what we probably appreciate is the partnership in driving events, like the idea that you can park up at the top of the hill, come down here and not have to worry about it for things like fire and ice.
Absolutely. Fire and ice was great. I was here for that on Saturday night too, personally. And we do that for, all of our communities. And, when you need that kind of service, we're there to provide it. So absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and we like to come to the events, and, you know, we were at River City Days with a booth. And so, you know, when you see us places like that, you know, please come stop by. So thank you. I appreciate it. I'll let you get to your meeting. And have a great Friday and a good weekend.
Thank you, Eric.
Bye.
All right. We're into road construction.
All right, I will share my screen. Yes, okay. All right, so just wanted to provide a brief update today on construction as per usual. So as you all know, stage 4 is underway, and it was last time we met as well. There have been a few changes since we last met to the parking, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We have our stop sign configuration at the 4161 intersection and the Walnut and 61 intersection. And at this time, we're anticipating that this will be closed until fall. More on that later on what that timing looks like. So exciting update on the sheet piling. As you may have noticed out there, we have begun to make preparations for the site in anticipation of sheet piling beginning the week of August 21st. So the crane is actually going to be arriving on site late next week, and they're anticipating to start their driving the week of the 21st. I don't think we have an exact date pinned down just yet, but hopefully we'll hear more on that in the coming week and can blast that out via social media, and we can contact the businesses as well. Parking update. So when we last met, we were still in the process of reviewing the parking to see what would work best for the traffic patterns that we're noticing downtown. And since then, we have lifted parking restrictions on, I guess, the insides of both of Walnut and Pine Street. So the west side of Walnut and the east side of Pine. And we also lifted a small portion of the north side of First Street as well. So thank you everyone for your feedback and understanding as we've been monitoring this. I just wanted to pause and ask, are there any parking concerns that we're noticing at this time, or has this been working better with what we're noticing with traffic patterns?
Looks better. I mean, it seems to be working better.
Good. Great. Keep moving. So another topic when we last met as well was truck traffic, and we have continued to work with local enforcement to monitor the semi traffic coming through the bridge to First Street. I think we have seen, you know, steady improvements since then. We're still seeing that some are getting through and are trying to nip that in the butt where we can. And we'll continue to work with enforcement to make sure that this is getting reduced more and more. So what is next? As you can see out there, we are continuing to install the roadway along 41, and that includes curb, sidewalks. We're going to have pavement going down hopefully soon on this next portion. And obviously the tunnel is our next big milestone as well. So with the sheet piling beginning the week of the 21st, that's going to be a big priority over the next coming weeks and months to get that installed. And we were talking as a team the other day about the reopening date, and we are still targeting late October, November timeframe. We don't really have an exact date at this point, but we're hoping that next time we meet, we can really start to narrow in on what specifically that timing might look like, and then kind of how the end of the season will look as far as the road and the tunnel with streetscape and everything, because I know there's a lot of fine detail work with plantings and stuff that might have to get pushed into the next year, which kind of just makes sense for the planting schedule as well. So I'm going to pause. Any questions on sheet piling, schedule, paving? Okay.
When do you think, I mean, not that an exact date matters, because like we've talked, we don't want to promise something and then not and have frustration. But when do you think we're going to have a better idea? Like if it's October 20th or if it's
Mhm.
November 15th?
I would say it's, once we get closer.
It's super contingent on how the box goes at this point.
Mhm.
The installation of all of that.
And weather.
Well, I mean, tied to that, certainly, the later in the year, the more rain you typically get. So we're kind of, fighting that a little bit. Getting to this point is kind of a big milestone just to have something on the schedule for just getting the box. So right now, we'll see how the box goes. And then I think at that point, we can have a better idea for an approximation.
And the timing for the installation of the box, like you mentioned the week, but is it like a 4-week project or is it, we don't know until we start pounding stuff into the earth?
We do kind of know. I think the box itself, like it depends, like it's just a whole, it's the sheeting, it's the temp sheeting, it's the preparation for getting the headers in for the either end of the box, it's the box itself, it's the excavation of all of that. Like there's just a lot of those things that are all contingent on soil conditions, weather. Like we can approximate, roughly probably 3 weeks for the box installation itself, but then there's 3 weeks for the sheet piling, but then some of that can happen at the same time. So there's a level of overlap there, but how much overlap is kind of contingent on all of those things. I don't have an easy answer without getting into like ultra details, which I would love to do, by the way.
Buy a coffee and
Let's talk sheet piling all day long.
Yeah.
So, but it's fair to say, I think we meet mid-September, that we would have a better idea at that point on when we could start to, because I think, and we can talk more about this when we get there, but I think we've reached the stage of this project, and you all can probably confirm this, where there is absolute business fatigue. Like it just feels like it's never going to end. Nobody's responding to anything. Nobody wants to put anything out there anymore. It's like, I think everybody's exhausted and done with it. And so finding some ray of hope would be a really good thing, I think, to kind of rally people around and push towards an event, something that kind of, because it's, even I'm done. Teach you never to come back to the meetings again. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, well, hopefully, like Bob was saying, next meeting, we'll have a clearer picture with how the piling is going. It will have started by then, and we can provide a more clear update on the schedule at that point. That's all I have.
I just have a question. There's so much congestion on Pine and Second and Fifth and Walnut. Any chance we can do temporary 4-way stops?
Stops on there because people are coming down that hill. They know 41's open. It's out there. Everybody knows now. And they're flying down Pine. You can't, and then at 5 o'clock, they can't get out of Second. They're stuck there.
Yeah.
People coming across 41 from the county courthouse and also out on Walnut and Fifth now. Fifth's coming across. People come across, you can't get out because traffic's going like this.
Yeah, we added 4-way stops at Second and Walnut from the last stage. We just kind of brought that into perpetuity for this stage as well, but that's fine feedback. We'll take a look at Pine as well.
Pine and Second. And
Pine and Second.
Pine and Second.
And Fifth and Walnut.
And Fifth and Walnut.
No, but I'm just telling you that
Yeah.
that one I really feel strongly about too.
Pine and Second is the one you feel strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, whatever, but Pine
when you have a
is
business on Second.
really bad.
Yeah.
Well, people just can't get out because
Yeah.
it backs up. We seen last night.
You have my little old ladies that can't drive or shouldn't drive anyway. And I'm out there like directing.
$5.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I mentioned this, and you all are probably aware of it, but St. John's goes back in 2 weeks. And the first week is Parent Drive Day. And then we pick up busing when the district goes back, but it'll be.
Not just that, but Renfest starts on the 19th.
Oh, that's right.
So we're kind of in that like.
Yeah, chaos.
Yeah, we're kind of prepping for that. We've been focusing on trucks admittedly for the past month. Now it's like, oh, it's Renfest in school. What do we need to do ahead of that? So this is all good feedback. We can certainly enact that. That's all easy stuff. But now it's kind of like a little bit of bracing for the next thing. But that should be good though, too, from the business perspective, right? We're having a large influx of people, that's all good stuff too.
I think if we can solve the Second and Pine, because there are people walking, maybe aren't comfortable walking in
Some people stop because they think there's a stop sign there, but there's not. So then it's like, why are you stopping?
I've seen that happen. Yeah. People are like, wait, am I supposed to go? Am I not supposed to go? What am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in previous meetings too, we've always talked about consistency too, and making sure that people are trained to know what to predict. So changing something like that will take a little bit of time to kind of, sink in for people too.
The only other, excuse me, the only other thing I was going to bring up is, I think it's great that we have the hawk signals on there, but is there any way that the line for stopping can get painted sooner than later? People have no idea where to stop. And so I see some people that are rolling right up to the hawk sign, some people are way back. But if, I assume there's a line that's going to be painted in there because there's one over here. So, yeah, but it just indicating where should people stop.
We'll just make a note of that so I don't forget it.
There's no line, you don't have to stop. You know that, right?
What's that?
There's no line, you don't have to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm looking for it. Oh, through.
Yeah, here I am.
I know we've got Krista and Mike and Jody from the library on Zoom. Any, I do have the chat up. Any questions you all have about construction plans, parking, any feedback?
No, I think the only thing I had was that, was actually what Matt was just saying, that, when I pull up to the Hawks, the Hawks sign, when someone was crossing, I was kind of looking like, should I pull right up to the crosswalk where they're walking, or should I be back further? It wasn't completely clear. So, like I said, I think Matt covered that pretty well. The only other thing I noticed was just on this illustration for what's next, assuming it gets distributed, the only thing my comment was the iconography, because when I look at it, I glanced at it from a distance, just when I looked at it really quickly, the star and the crossing makes it look like a crash. So, because, you see like a crash car icon, it kind of looks the same because it's a jumbled bit of like bright color on top of something else. And so that's kind of that's what it looked like when, I saw it and was like, oh, there's crashes there. Oh, wait, no, there's a crossing there.
Yeah, we can look at maybe thinking how we could fix that. Maybe we can make the arrows a different color instead of putting a star. That's good feedback.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever. It's like I said, it's just like in this particular way, it does look like a crash, because if you look like a crash icon in Waze or some of these other different apps, it kind of looks, at a glance, because of the colors, it kind of looks similar to that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I can look at how we can switch that up.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Well, 2nd Street West, any other feedback, concerns, thoughts, things that we can do to support you? Because you're here, which is awesome.
Yesterday, they closed 2nd Street for about half a day, which caused a lot of mayhem down there. Didn't hurt me, well, that's because it's nice and slow in front of our office, but a lot of people coming down trying to do a U-turn because it's not open.
Yeah, I mean, your point about consistency is true. Like, the more we keep things the same, but we do have to adjust for safety, but the more we keep it the same, the easier it is for people to know what's expected and what's going on.
Don't see a lot of pedestrian. Oh, you tried walking into Red Bench last Friday. Me and my buddy were trying to walk down Red Bench. It's trying to walk anywhere downtown. It's quite, because you got to walk half a block to get around the barricade, and then it's like an adventure.
Yes, it is an adventure.
So not a lot of pedestrian traffic.
No, I think that was the thing. We've done so many like pop-ups with games and chalk and all that stuff because we felt like it must be more walkable because we're not dealing with the traffic on 41. So people with small kids don't, but it's not as walkable as it should feel like because it's a construction zone.
Yep.
And yeah.
Gotta be safe.
All right, road construction is done.
Yep.
Would you like the floor?
I will let Councilmember Hatfield and Councilmember Juan start. Like,
My brain is blank.
I'll just
I
let
have a
Michaela
wedding today,
start.
so my brain is just about the wedding. Like,
Oh, Michaela, I was gonna let you go.
I can't think of anything.
No, please go.
I know.
Well, I'll throw out a question because a long time ago, we talked about across from the bus garage, that there would be that transitional housing, but we'd also talked about maybe like a Mercado feel or something along those lines. I'm guessing it's just transitional housing and we're not looking to build anything else with it.
Right, that is all they are doing on that. Yep.
But the Mercado concept comes more with, as we look at City Square West and what happens on that block.
I think the other thing to be thinking about is the school district did get approved. They can use lease levy financing for the bus garage, which means that I expect they're going to be moving that bus garage out of downtown Chaska relatively soon. We need to be thinking about that as an opportunity site for downtown as far as what's going to support downtown the best. That's a 12.5 acre site. So there's a lot of potential on that site for what can be done. We've always thought of it as being trying to have as much housing that can support downtown Chaska, but it could be a lot of different things. So that's something I think we'll be starting to think about as the school district finds a new location for that.
City Square West, any updates? I know you were.
Yeah, I think we talked last time or the time before we did receive almost $5.5 million from the legislature. That gets us kind of partway there to being able to start. We did put a request in for more money in the 24 session. So we'll have to wait and kind of see what happens with that. But, what they have told us is, they don't like to give just partial amounts of what your request is. They may divide it over a couple of years, but so we're feeling, pretty excited about that possibility and what it may mean. But we did put a request in for the remaining amount that we need to be able to get started across the street.
And I mean, since we're talking about construction fatigue, obviously there's going to be construction there, but do you feel like it's contained on the site and the impact to surrounding businesses is pretty minimal?
Yeah, I think that would be the goal. I mean, we're gonna have to do the streets around there when it's done, but that'll be, a couple years from now.
And those are just, single blocks don't take very long to do. So it's certainly nothing to caliber of what's going on now this summer.
All right, I'm done talking. Mike and Kayla, anything?
We are in just starting our budgeting season too. So the council met on Monday to start talking about that. So this is the last year of our implementing our staffing study to get our staffing up to what it should have been or what should be. And then our facilities are continuing forward. So the next facility would be, or the first facility really that we're looking at doing is the public safety building. So that'd be police and fire. So I think I shared a long time ago with this group that that would mean the police would move up by the fire department, which is almost the center of the city. So it works out well. But that starts kind of the process of that happens, then it keeps rolling towards with the eventually this building and the library. So that kind of starts our path. I know that we all care a lot about the library. That starts our path towards that. So that's kind of what we're doing right now as far as the council will take up a good portion of our time as we head towards setting the preliminary levy in September. Did I say all those words right?
Good.
You got it.
It came through.
I was like, is preliminary the right word? So that's kind of what we're up to. And we had the booth at River City Days and a lot of good feedback on facilities and just things around the town and all of that. So I think that's probably the big thing to share.
The other thing I'd share is we did have our open house for the community center master plan on Wednesday. We had a couple sessions, one from 11 to 1 and one from 5 to 8. Had a lot of good feedback at that meeting. I think people were really excited to see, how do we get the community center up to sort of current standards for building. Also, the recreational trends that existed when we built it 35 years ago are a little different than what people sort of look for now. So people are looking for more fitness opportunities. You know, young families are looking for large indoor playgrounds. Maker spaces to have science labs or music labs or things like that, more gym space, all kinds of stuff. So that was a really good turnout and feedback. And we'll be coming out with the final plan there. But if you want to see sort of we had like about a half hour, 35-minute presentation and then all the concept plans, they will be up on our website on Monday. I think that's when it is, isn't it, Kevin?
It's already up on YouTube, the video.
Oh, the video is, but the plans I think go up on Monday. Or are they already up? I don't know.
Next week. So.
Yeah, so sometime soon, but I highly encourage you to take a look at it. A task force of citizens, like 15, 16 citizens got together to really spend the last year and a half working, going through saying, what do we want this community center to be as we move into the future?
I'm sure you heard from the pickleball gang.
No, I didn't hear anything from them.
It's assumed.
I mean, I love pickleball, so I'm all for whatever they.
Apparently a lot of
It
people.
really came on
Yeah.
the scene like in the last
Oh,
year.
it's crazy. All right,
Crazy.
then let's talk a little bit about events, because while we don't have a firm end date in sight, we can probably talk a little bit about what we might do. We had kicked around at the end of construction, kind of like we did with Second Street, with doing an event to celebrate it. I saw the Chaska Cares date go out.
Yeah, do people know about the Chaska Cares
No,
Music
I covered
Fest? So the Chaska Rotary and the city of Chaska are partnering together to do, this would be our first annual Chaska Cares Music Festival. So it's going to be Saturday, October 7th, and it's going to be down at Athletic Park. It's a full day music festival down in the park. So it goes from noon until 10 p.m. A lot of sort of Americana, sort of folk Americana type of music down there. Most of the bands actually come from Austin, Texas. So some really good music coming up. The Rotary is going to be doing all the, beer and seltzers and whatever people like to drink. We have 12 food trucks that are going to be there. This should be a pretty big deal. And the hope is that with this first year, that this can be something that obviously goes into the future, that same first weekend of October. And then potentially go to a 2-day music festival where you could have like sort of themed nights. One might be country, one might be more rock or blues or things like that. But we have the potential to hold up to probably about 10,000 people in that stadium down there. So it has a definite potential to grow. Obviously, you couldn't park 10,000 people down there, so we'd be working with Southwest Transit to actually shuttle people down into the downtown. And one of the things that we'd like to do is to work with the Downtown Business Alliance to say, okay, where do we potentially create drop-offs or pickups so that we can also sort of impact the businesses in downtown, because people are going to be down there for a while, and if they want to leave for a while and come back, is there someplace they could go for lunch or things like that? So and then this is going to be something that raises dollars for major projects in the community. Right now it's trying to finish up the Miracle League park that's being fundraised for, but then in the future it'll be other major community projects that it helps support. But hopefully then it's just one more weekend to bring activity into downtown Chaska. I think it's a weekend or 2 weekends after Oktoberfest and the Angel Fest and things like that. So it just sort of, and then the Latin Music Festival is on September 22nd, I think it is. So the hope is that in the fall time, we can sort of bring multiple events on different weekends into downtown. It's one of those times of year that a lot of places sort of stop doing that type of stuff, but there's really a desire to be outside and enjoy the fall. So, start becoming sort of a fall destination for those types of activities in downtown.
One of the things that just popped into my head, and before I say it, I'll ask, Angel Fest is always the last weekend, right? So there's only a one weekend.
Yeah, so it might be the weekend before, and so I guess a lot.
23rd, I think it is.
Or is it the? It's crazy that we're talking about fall stuff.
It is almost the middle of August.
You be quiet.
One of the things that I was thinking, because obviously you can walk from Athletic Park down into downtown, but one of the things when we do hometown holiday that we can never get enough of is the horse-drawn carriage rides. It doesn't really, well, it kind of fits with the theme if it's folksy kind of Americana stuff, but we could do the rides. We've never done that track before, but we could do them back and forth and kind of bring people in to Second Street. And I think,
Yeah, you know, I'm part of the planning committee for that, so I could bring that up as saying, hey, how do we set it up so that people can come in and out of the event, and that maybe the Downtown Business Alliance has some desire to sort of take on to that to get people into downtown, because yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it's a music festival, but it's sort of like a fall festival too. So, yeah.
because there is a really good chance that we're done with construction.
Better line that up.
I don't think so. Have you been listening? I have a question about, so 10,000 people, I was at the park last night. Where's 10,000 people going to Athletic Park?
On the field.
Oh, got it. So.
Yep. So it's.
So just like Canterbury, they do that.
Yep. So we put the stage up in the upper left-hand field corner, so it's pointing away from the houses in downtown, and basically you put the crowd in.
Right, the river.
Pointing at the river, and you don't have to worry about the sound.
I like it. Enjoy a nice good show.
Yep. So.
You know, speaking of parking, it'll be interesting to see how the Ren Fest does this year. I heard this morning that if you buy your tickets, parking tickets in advance, it's $10. If you buy them on site, it's 30. I mean, that's a significant difference. And so that might be something to consider depending on, you know, the Ren Fest would be a nice little test for that. But, and then obviously they're promoting the Southwest Transit as well.
Jody just had a great idea too about, like, we could, and maybe we publish this in the September thing that we do, or it's separate, but she said to encourage biking into the event on the trail system.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be the absolute easiest.
Yeah. So I think that's a win. Especially after you've had a few.
I
feel what?
I can drive from my Clover Ridge home all the way to Athletic Park, and I think I never cross the road except for right when I leave my house. So I mean, so you can definitely get down there pretty easily on the trails.
A regular bike or an e-bike?
I won't drive an e-bike.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so that is one event on the calendars that you can take that back and see what.
Yeah, I'll mention it to
We're
him.
definitely there to support anything that would drive people into downtown, bring a focus back.
Well, and it's something you can count on each year on the same day too, just like the Latin Music Fest is growing, and that's something you can count on the same day each year. Well, and Angel Fest is something you can count on each year. So that's 3 weekends in a row in the fall.
Which actually brings something up about City Square Park. Is it like, did the construction start, or whatever it's called?
We haven't got permission yet.
Okay. So knowing that,
Yep.
we usually do something the same weekend as Angel Fest that is just a quick bounce house pop-up. We did it here last year and that did not work because the power's not strong enough for the bounce houses. Is that an option?
I think it is. I think one of the things you'd have to think about though is, I think a lot's going to depend on this guy here, who's writing feverishly. To me, my only concern would be, especially with the Ren Fest going on, is there too much traffic that's going up Walnut Street? But if the road's open to that point and they're going up to 4th Street instead of coming up Walnut Street, then I think it's a viable option. And maybe it's certainly something that could be explored.
Because I don't think there's a location on this side that we could do it. This is the 30th. Okay.
This is the 30th.
30th. Yeah, so that'll be 3 weekends in a row of stuff, so.
I know. All right, so from an event perspective, then we have Latin Fest, Angel Fest, seeing the theme here, Music Fest. That's not the name of it, but it is now. And then we had talked about doing something. And I guess maybe it's more of a discussion next meeting when we have things a little bit more solidified and whether or not there'll be snow on the ground.
I think we can toss around ideas.
No.
Yeah.
You're gonna run this meeting.
I think at this point, we can probably start coming up with ideas and just kind of vetting them throughout the next couple of months. And I'm gonna stick to construction because I'm not an expert on any of that stuff, but between the individuals here, they'll have some good ideas, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, I think if we start planning and have some ideas in mind and then setting the date as we get closer.
And is the park gonna happen this year? Okay, so we don't have a problem with hometown holiday or like we can just plan on, so that could be a location then to keep it kind of in the heart of downtown.
So the park isn't happening this year. We're pushing it to next summer for City Square.
We're having lots of issues with permitting from the state and from the travel governments. So I honestly can't give you a good answer about what's happening. It's the permitting is taking an unbelievable amount of time.
Is it work that we can do in the winter?
No.
Like late fallish, early springish, so we don't know like city days or the farmer's market or, because those are.
Say the farmers markets are starting to.
Sure. I think it's too early to tell at this point in time. And I think this is good feedback because we kind of move into, what happens. But as Matt says, we're waiting on other folks at this point in time. So we'll just kind of keep everybody up to date as to what we know.
Are the farmers markets not having as much success there?
They might be having success, but the farmers aren't as happy trucking things in.
Because my perception is that the public likes it a lot more. But that's just my perception.
Yeah, I haven't been I'm not in charge of them, but the couple that I've been there working with them on, they kind of miss being a little closer to, being able to park their cars right there, unload instead of trucking in, 1,000 pounds of produce.
Sure.
Yeah.
Matt, 2 questions. Community center commencement and completion, how far out is that?
We're aiming right now, we're using at least as a target planning date. Surprise, 2027. That's at least what we're using as a planning date. So that's what we're aiming for is 2027. And we would keep the community center open during construction, so portions of it. And that always extends construction. So it's probably a 2-year process to.
All on that site?
All on that site, yep.
And then if the police station leaves up by the fire department, what's on this site?
So, well, you can see we're meeting with card tables here. We don't have any conference rooms or any space for, we're having to move new employees up into other buildings because we just can't accommodate them. So basically the plan was always when City Hall was built, it was actually supposed to happen back in 2000, but that the library would leave and that space would open up. So as City Hall functions grew, then you grow into it. So that's what will happen in this building. We don't have to add on to the building to do that. We just need to remodel the space to accommodate it.
Library would stay and.
Library would move across the street.
That house was, all right.
All right, so working through our standard fall events, then we'll do some brainstorming on something probably in October, late October. So that rolls us then into Halloween, which I think is Halloween's not the 28th, but the day that we do the downtown trick or treating is the 28th. That's the Saturday. So we'll partner with the Herald again and do the big map, and I'll get communication out to the businesses because that ends up being a pretty big event. And it
Something
is.
to also remember is the Trail of Fun that's happening down at Athletic Park. There's a lot of families that go down there, and given the timing, that could be a really good partnership between people going down there and doing that and having them go out to eat.
Yes, I do think we get a decent amount of pre and post from that event because it's so big.
Same day.
No, it's like, it's the middle of the month. It's on a Friday night,
Yeah, it's probably the
15th or something. Yeah, something like that.
which then brings us to the two holiday events. We might as well talk about that, which this year would be the 2nd and the 3rd of December. So the 2nd would be hometown holiday in the park, because we're good there. I did talk to St. John's, who used to partner with us and do the camels and stuff. And I think they're looking to get back in. They stopped during COVID. That was always a nice addition to hometown holiday, to kind of drive traffic down here too. That's who we partner with for trunk or treat, or they do their trunk or treat the same night as the trick or treat. So we kind of get the double action of people coming down. And then the tree lighting at Fireman's Park would be the 3rd. And that wraps up events for the year. It gets a little busy, which is a good thing, I think, coming out of this summer.
So we had the car show last Saturday at Lions
Yes.
Park. Great place for a car show, by the way. I mean, there's so much parking. Nobody never had a problem with parking, because the parking lot was, because everybody's parking their cars in the car show, so there's really no spectators. So all the spectators show up, have a nice parking spot in the parking lot. So we moved all our trailers on the road. And then, except for the pop-up thunderstorm we had for 15, 20 minutes, the slab flooded 4 inches. I mean, because the grass is now higher than the slab the slab underneath the pavilion. So we're talking to Booker Tice about that. So evidently he wanted to raise the slab, but they didn't. So now it's a big flood problem. Always was great. They had a squeegee there. So the Lions person had a squeegee. So she's squeegeeing out water. And the grass sucked up the water just fine. So, but great location. I don't think we're ever going back to the park at City Square, because it's just so nice. It's away from downtown. And
Yeah, I heard the same feedback from the River City Days perspective, is they liked the layout better, the fact that there was more space.
So much room.
Things, but parking was an issue.
And the restrooms are nice, because you got restrooms right there. Not porta potties.
I mean, I know we don't have any control over River City Days, but I'd like to see it back in the park. Just because I think it is such a big part of what happens downtown. Sorry, that is my daughter.
$5.
Yep, she's still texting. Make love. All right, so those are the big events as we wrap up. When we think about the focus on construction, we used 2 social media influencers. The end of July and beginning of August. I still have a little bit of material left over from our last one that we're going to stretch out over the next week and a half. And the goal with those is not only do we get the material, but it's out on their sites. And so we touch base with all of their followers. I think I'm going to do it one more time, just knowing that we are in a little bit of fatigue, and the businesses aren't as responsive and interested in doing things as they were at the start of this. So I think I'm going to do a third one, because it doesn't require anything of the businesses. And I think my goal is so we had a focus on a little bit of the kind of a day down here. So she covered the parks and food and things that you could do. And then we did a lot of the occasional shops this time around. And I think I'm going to focus it more in you all's direction next time, and just talk about the service perspective, that you can come down here and you can get a haircut, you can get a massage, you can, and go out to lunch before or after, so that we kind of cover everybody and give everybody a little bit of a lift.
There's been events, there's nobody down on Second Street.
Yeah.
On our side and west, so.
Well, and I think that's really good feedback, because one of the things that we had planned was to do bingo tied to River City Days, and nobody was there. And then we were going to do it this month tied to kind of back to school. And again, people are just, I think, but we can do other things, still going, teenage daughters. We can do other things, like one of the first ones we did was kind of a go take your picture at a certain business place. So I think we can do some of those things that push people that way. So it's good to know that you're not, like, nobody is ending up there. So we'll do what we can then to kind of push them that way. I have, Kevin, I know I promised you this last time, but Dave needed a couple weeks off, but I'll give you Dave's contact information. And maybe we can do, yes, maybe we can do something with that to kind of, since he used to live down here, to kind of highlight that aspect of things for maybe September. Because that's my goal, is that we've just got something fresh that kind of goes out there to drive them. We are still, even though we didn't have a huge turnout for the monthly mailer, we're still doing them with the map of downtown, all the events, and just the highlights of things. And this month we did a photo challenge for prizes because we didn't do bingo. I think we're going to continue with them, even though it's just a lot of the same information over and over again, but just putting it in front of people for the minimum amount that it costs feels like a good thing. So we'll have September and October, and then November's is hometown holidays with the coloring contest. And I think that'll wrap up that project. Let's see, go back to my notes. Otherwise, a lot of the things that we had focused on are kind of wrapping up over the next 2 months. From a road construction perspective, I owe you a check for the farmer's market. I owe you a check for the farmer's market. We had good turnout there.
Yeah, I mean, turnout's been good. It's a great park.
Where's it at?
Fireman's.
Oh.
It ties in with the Wednesday evening band concerts too. They're over there.
All right, that is everything from a event slash road construction event. Any questions, comments? Anything there? Any other ideas?
The city event, we talked about using that parking lot across from Larry and Tanya's, remember? On the 30th of September.
Yes. Who would know whether or not the electrical there could sustain a bounce house?
I thought we found that was essentially the same there as it was in the
park, or if it's the same here.
We had issues here that there wasn't gonna be any worse there.
Just check.
We'll figure it out.
It's a new way to measure electrical output, bounce house. Will it sustain a bounce house?
Not pulling kids out of a deflated bounce house again.
Oh, that's amazing. 2 years ago? No.
Yeah, there was about.
We discovered it's city owned, and the geography from Shram, Guardian Angels in there, and then Southwest, that we just thought that everything on this side, it would be a good.
So electrical's good, not good. I mean, couldn't we ask if any of the businesses around there wanted to donate their electrical for the day?
So you're right, we did bounce houses for the Second Street thing.
A nightmare.
And we spread them out. And I think that's why we didn't implode the power system, because here everything was connected to the same power supply from the 1880s.
The weather, we have a generator.
Yeah,
too.
well,
Okay.
let me do a little research. I'll get back to you and see what's possible.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
We have the beer tent by our salon instead of the bounce house.
Yeah,
For
right.
adults down there.
That is the only way to do it.
There used to be, when the farmer's market was down here in the parking lot, the Shram beer booth was right next to the bouncy house. That was awesome.
Now we're talking.
That's what we need to do.
I know.
Serious, because all those little rugrats were just like
Chaos.
running in, using our bathroom, stealing our candy.
Fill their garbage cans up, I'll tell you that.
Yep, bees all over the place.
Events are my favorite thing to do. All right.
Garbage cans next time.
Anything else? Let me look at the agenda. This turn off. Oh, chamber. I think I was forgetting someone. Any updates from the chamber perspective?
We do have a couple of things. So the farmers markets, like I said, they're going really well as far as we haven't heard any major negative feedback. The only thing is that we do have a few people that are like, we're trucking a lot of produce at the Fireman's Park. So it's a complication, but it's going well and seen good attendance. We've got our golf classic coming up on September 19th, and that's gonna be at the town course. And we are almost completely booked. I've basically got a dinner sponsorship that includes golf, and that's it. So real excited to find somebody that wants to sponsor that. And beyond that, we were in Southwest, we were in Chaska Herald for our donation to Minnesota Lima and first responders. So that was really good. That was a tag off of our April event. We're gonna be doing that again. So yeah, that's our update.
And in case you didn't know, you supply the cookies for Hometown Holiday.
Yes. I think Darren has mentioned.
You
Oh, I'll get
probably
cookies.
did. You better get bacon.
If I'm providing them, I don't know that we're gonna have a great turnout, but.
All right. All right. Anything else, or should we wrap up early today? Which we never do.
Yeah.
All right, well, we did end up at a quorum. Yeah, because Chris is here, which I guess we didn't have anything to approve today, so.
I don't think Melissa can, the financial.
Yeah.
She can't contribute to that.
No. All right, well then we'll wrap up and we are back here September 15th.
Great. Thanks.
Deadline for corporate. Extension.